What's up, everyone? This is Daria co-founder of AMG Poland, JS Poland, and AI Poland. Welcome back to JavaScript Master Podcast. Today, we dive into a very practical topic, the auto-generated TypeScript API clients. And we have two amazing guests, Daria Poliakova and Ihor Maistrenko.
Hello.
So, for those who don't know yet, please tell us about yourself and what you do.
Yes, hello everyone. My name is Daria Poliakova and I am a front-end developer. We work together with Ihor. Actually, I have started as a markup developer. I have been studying in university economics, but I had a lot of friends who studied software engineering, and I just decided to try what they are learning, and it seems to way more interesting for me. So I decided to switch to IT. And when I landed my first job as a markup developer, I realized that knowledge of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, it's just the beginning. And to be in demand, you have to be familiar with libraries and with frameworks. So I started with Angular, and then decided to try also React, and even worked with React for a long time. But then Angular pulled me back, and now I'm fully in this technology. And also a couple years ago, I finally get a software engineering degree. So I came a full circle.
I've started my career as a .NET developer. I created desktop applications on Windows and also participated in few cross-platform projects and wrote C++ code. Later on, I switched to web development, and I was a full-stack developer also in .NET tech stack. I was using ASP.NET MVC. And later on, I've met Angular and newer .NET versions. So currently, in my day-to-day work, I use Angular, .NET, and Microsoft Azure.
So, for someone who's hearing about auto-generated API clients for the first time, what exactly are they?
Yeah, for someone who hearing about it first time, it could sound like something fancy, but they are really practical. They basically smart way to connect your backend and frontend without writing all these manual service layers manually. And after generation, after generated client will return you some ready-to-use functions and clients which you need only import in your project, and that's all. And also important things, if you are using TypeScript, it also will generate for you models and interfaces, so you don't need to care about it. And also your code editor will give you suggestions which type should you use, and if something was changed, you will just catch this backend changes instantly in your code even before you run it. And this is great about auto-generated TypeScript API clients.
What problem do auto-generated clients solve compared to manually writing API service layers?
API service layers are one of the most repetitive parts in your code base. So the first problem that they can solve is just to reduce boilerplate code. Developers don't need to manually regenerate models, add, remove properties, or somehow work with API service layer manually, because it will be automatically generated. The second reason and the second problem that it resolves is the consistency of the code. Your code which is automatically generated, you just reuse it, and it forces you to have a consistent and the same style of writing your code. So it will look the same.
Yeah, and the third one, and especially important if you use in TypeScript, is early error detection. For example, your backend team changed the property name from user ID to ID, and in a manually written service layer, you will catch this error only when someone called this endpoint. But with auto-generated TypeScript API client, after your backend change it, you just regenerate your API client, and then you will receive all updates which backend has. So you will catch these errors and mismatches in your code instantly, and you can fix it really quick.
How did you first come across this approach? It was a project necessity or a personal experiment?
In our case, it was project necessity. We expected a huge API upgrade, and there was a lot of breaking changes, and we understood that we will spend a lot of time manually rewriting our API service layer. And we came up together on a meeting and decided to research what options do we have, because at this point, every our front-end developer would be blocked and until we fix it. So we came up with the solution to get auto generation code tool that will generate our API client, and we will get rid of this problem. We made it on one of our project, and we like it so much that later on we started using it for every our project that we had.
Yeah, and in my case, we had this big legacy project which we had to rewrite the newest Angular and .NET, and our team lead just already had experience with auto-generated API clients and also had his own setup. So he suggested us to try it to make this process faster, and it was really helpful because in this fast-moving development process, all these early error detection and reducing manual amount of manual written code was really breaking change for speed of our development process.
Could you walk us through a typical workflow from API definition to generating a fully typed client?
Sure. I would define 4 steps in all this procedure. First one, you need to create a document that will describe your API. So let's take, for example, most of people and developers work with REST API. So at this case, we talk about some specification that will describe this API. In modern world, it's Open API or Swagger specification file. Uh, Most of modern backend technologies, they support Open API specification generation out of the box. And if they not support it, they support it via some simple additional package, and you will get it. So the first step, you have specification. The second step is generation of the API client based on this specification. You will need to find and select a tool that you will use for code generation. And here is a plenty of tools. And you need to make your own research and push from what options you have and what capabilities you have. Because there are many factors that can lead to final decision. For example, what is the size of your team? What are your internal rules, or who has time for that? How many resources you have, and so on and so on. So the third step, when you generated API client, you need to integrate it into your code base. Simplest solution is just to copy paste it to your client project and start using that. We have used that approach, and also one of approaches that we use right now, we distribute our API client using private NPM package. And last step is optional, but I would recommend to look into it, is automation. On this step, you can think how you can reduce manual effort that developers need to do in order to generate or regenerate API client. There are plenty of things, and all depends on your fantasy, to be honest. So it's up to you how to use the automation here.
What formats or standards are usually used for generation?
Yeah, if we are talking about formats and standards, there are several main players, and the first one is definitely OpenAPI. It used to called Swagger, but now I think that maybe I can say that OpenAPI is a king of REST API, and we really recommend to use it because there are really rich ecosystem of tools which can compile this specification to auto-generated API client. The next one is Swagger. It's maybe a bit old one, but you definitely can face it in some legacy projects. And good thing that almost all Open API specification generators can work with Swagger, but maybe you can just miss some newest features from it, but you still can generate types, interfaces, and even documentation.
Yeah, and we wanted to make a small disclaimer. So this podcast, we would like to talk about REST API and everything related to that. If for some reason you use GraphQL or SignalR or other things to communicate between your client and the server, you need to make your own research in terms of tools that you can use. So basically, we will later talk about packages that can be used for that. Yeah, and we cannot advise here.
What are the most common tools or frameworks used today for generating TypeScript API clients?
Yeah, as I already mentioned, for generating auto-generated API clients, there are pretty rich ecosystem, and I think that the most popular one is Open API Generator. It's contain more than 50 different templates for generators, and it can work with different languages and libraries. So you can set up your generator for creating fetch, Axios, and even TypeScript HTTP client. So it's really cool. And you can set up it according to your needs. It can generate for you documentation inline in your code. It can create some basic error handling, also creating types and interfaces, and set up everything for you.
The first tool that we started using was AutoRest. It is very well integrated with Microsoft Azure and support multiple languages like C#, Go, Python, Java, TypeScript. And if your project is heavily uses Microsoft Azure, then probably AutoRest can be your choice. The second tool that we are using right now on our project is called NSWAG. It's a very popular choice for .NET developers, but actually you can not be .NET developer in order to use it. But it's also it works on the code generation templates and supports a lot of different templates. I mean, I'm talking about client generation templates, for example, like Angular, Axios, Fetch, jQuery, and so on and so on. So for us, it was a very convenient tool for our needs.
Yeah, and I would like to mention also one more tool. It's maybe not such popular as previous we mentioned, but for my opinion, it's also cool because it can help you work with React query and Vue query, and this tool is Orwell, so you can just try it if you want, if you work with these languages.
How do you handle authentication, headers, and error handling in generated clients?
Oh, that's a great question, because
Thank you.
if you want to bring API client into your project, you need to make sure that it will work correctly. So I will demonstrate example of Angular and how it works there. So Angular itself has HTTP client class that is used to make API calls, handle responses, and so on. So if we talk about API client that was generated specifically for Angular, it will reuse the same HTTP client class. So in this manner, nothing changes for developer. And in Angular, when you usually handle errors or authentication using interceptors, it will remain the same. So this code will not be changed. And as I said again, it will use the same HTTP client class. So which means that all your interceptors will be working and you can just use API client.
What are the biggest advantages you've noticed since adopting this approach?
Yeah, if we start with advantages, I think that first one is consistency because your API specification is your source of truth and everything based on it. So it's always have the same structure, all documentation has the same shape, and everyone after generating API clients receives the same code. So you don't need to spend time on code review to check consistency of this generated code because it's always has the same structure, and also your team will interact with code the same way because they need just import it in their code, and that's all. Second one is type safety. As we already mentioned, if you are working with TypeScript, after generated API clients will create for you all the types you need. All your requests and response will be type safety. So you always will receive instant error validation according to this. And next one is automatic updates. That means that if your backend changes, only one thing you need is regenerate the clients, and your frontend and backend will always synchronized, and you will always have the latest version of your API. And next one is reducing manual work, because you don't need to create manually service layers. You will write less code by yourself. You don't need to care about creating interfaces and types. So you will have more time to focus on business logic of your project.
There are a few more benefits of using auto-generated API clients. One of them is documentation, because auto-generated code will contain inline comments that will tell you how to use API client, what method they have, how they work, what you should expect as a request, and what you will get as a response. So it will help developers in order to start using API client. Additional benefit is error handling, because auto-generated code usually contains some basic error handling and you don't need to reinvent the wheel. You just reuse this code. And everything that we described before actually leads us to serious benefit. It's faster development. You don't need to spend your time creating some boilerplate code, and you can just concentrate delivering values on your project.
Have you encountered cases where auto-generated caused problems or added complexity instead of simplifying things?
We had few cases. First case happened when we had custom server validation, and we knew that our API should return custom messages if something went wrong. For some reason, API client did not pass these custom messages to us, and my solution was to go to code generation templates and fix what was wrong. In our case, it was incorrect response handling. So I just rewrote the code generation template, and my new auto-generated API client already returned me all the messages. And second issue that we had was related to the way how auto-generated API client generated our models. Some model types were not the same as we expected, and we had to just create our own interfaces in order to keep using that. But to be honest, it were just a few percent of our generated models. The rest of the models were generated correctly.
Is there a way to dynamically regenerate an API client when the backend was changed?
Oh, yes, this is the part of automation that we talked before. There are plenty of ways of how you can do that. I can just share a few things from what you can start. For example, you can set up pre-build events on your client side and regenerate API client every time when you try to build your project. At this point, you will get new version of the API client, and you will make sure that your code would be compiled correctly on the client side. The second way how you can work with this is post-build events. Usually, it's useful for the backend because, as I said before, uh, backend generates for you API specification. So you can generate client, for example, when you got your new specification. Uh, Additionally, you can go further and just set up your CI/CD pipelines and make changes there to make sure that every time you run the pipeline, you will build new API client so developers can reuse it.
What are your top best practices for teams starting with client generations?
First one is keeping your API specification as a single source of truth. Because if it's creating in good way and if it's reliable, so you will have definitely what you need. Because when you start to add some manually written parts for handling API calls or creating additional types and interface, you will lose this alignment between your front end and back end. The next one is, I think, automate this process if you can, because no one should remember to do it each time when something changes on backend, because like we all are human and we can forget about it. And when you will regenerate these clients, I don't know, once in a week, you will have lots of errors which you need to fix, and you will say that these after generated API clients do nothing for me. They do just my work more complicated. And the next one is just define shape of your error handling with your team before you will generate these API clients, and add this in your template. Because even if after generated API clients tools give you a lot for free, they have some basic error handling, but they don't know in which shape you want to receive these error messages. And the last one, if you need to add some additional logic to handle your responses and requests, please don't do it in your component. Add some service wrappers for after generated API clients, and add this logic in them, because in this case you will have a separate part of your code which handle this logic, and if your backend change it from one technology to another, or you decide to change generator tool, you just need to change import in one place, and don't need to looking for every piece of code where it was used.
I would also recommend to talk to your team. So if you are a front-end developer and you want to start using auto-generated API clients, uh, I would recommend to go to backend developers and make sure they use or not use automatic client generation. Because there is a possibility they can use it for different needs. And if yes, it simplifies a lot, because for them it can be a minimal effort to generate one more client for your needs. Or, for example, they know about some common pitfalls or something else. Uh, if they not use automatic client generation, there are still you can discuss it with your team, and maybe somebody has experience or had experience with different tools, and they can advise something and help to find what approach will work best for your solution.
Finally, if you could summarize why modern developers should consider adopting auto-generated API clients?
Yeah, to answer this question, I propose to look at pros and cons of this approach. And I will start from advantages. First one is reducing manually created code. So you don't need anymore care about creating repetitive services for handling your API calls and also creating a bunch of types and interfaces. You will have everything created for you, and you just need to import it in your code base, so you will have more time to concentrate on developing your features. The next one is type safety. As we already mentioned, most of auto-generated API client can generate for you types and interfaces, so you will have auto completion in your code, and you will catch errors more quickly than with manually created code. And next one is consistency, because all your API layer will be created in the same shape, so it's easier to navigate and less error prone.
Talking about disadvantages, one of things that you need to keep in mind is that you need to take care about your API specification. So if for some reason API specification contains some inconsistencies or errors, you will have the same in your auto-generated code. So you need to make sure that API specification is fine. One more thing that people usually complain when we talk about auto-generated API clients is the code readability. So in case if you need to read the code which was automatically generated, or even more, if you need to debug the code that was automatically generated, sometimes it's not very comfortable. Yeah. And the last one is probably a bit of complexity when you need to set up automatic code generation. You will need to find a tool, spend some time and set up solution and make sure that everything works before you start using that. And it can take some time. But to be honest, when you set up this, when you finish setup of automatic client generation, it will save you a lot of time in future.
And the last one, but I think the most important one, is synchronization between your front end and back end. You will have always the latest changes from your backend, and it will make your development experience easier.
Daria, Igor, thank you so much for this amazing conversation. It was a pleasure to have you here. And for all our listeners, please subscribe the channel, ring the bell, smash the button, and see you in the next podcast.